Hey, ladies and gents, and welcome back to a controlled interest discussion. We talked about Batman vs Superman. Now we're talking about Captain America: Civil War, a movie that was relatively loved by everyone. I don't think anybody really had a huge gripe with it. We're just going to be talking about our thoughts. It's me and Jordan. Dom isn't joining us; he hasn't seen it yet. He actually is on a mission to catch up on all of the Marvel Cinematic Universe because apparently he was absent for most of it. So um, yeah, we felt it wasn't really right to have him in here because he didn't want to get spoiled and stuff like that. So it's going to be a two-man show today, right, Jordan?
Yes, it is our first fireside groove here on the Controlled Interest channel.
Oh yeah. So Civil War, I want to get into it. Just throwing out stuff off the top of my head. Love the movie. It was great. It was a great payoff for the Iron Man movies and the Captain America movies and
Yeah,
everything in between. Really quick, the things I loved: Ant-Man, Black Panther, Spider-Man. Loved.
yeah,
Uh, Loved that they went with a younger and super gorgeous Aunt May. Obviously, they poke fun at that in the movie.
yeah.
Love Spider-Man, aka Tom Holland, aka Peter Parker's relationship with Tony Stark. Thought that was great. Thought that made his introduction smooth. Uh, I loved Baron Zemo just because It's refreshing to see a superhero movie where the villain isn't punching them in the face. He really didn't do anything in
Hmm.
the movie, and that's brilliant. I think people are like it's boring. He didn't really do much. Yada yada yada. I think that was interesting. It was a new take. People didn't like Ultron because of the way he was and stuff like that. I just thought it was cool to see a villain attack superheroes from a different perspective. I thought it was really cool. Um, Excited for Infinity War. I guess they're renaming it. We talked about in a game cast last or this week rather about the casting decisions for Black Panther. So that has me stoked for that movie. But yeah, loved Winter Soldier. Loved the way it wrapped up. It was a lot more brutal than I thought. The fight scenes, as far as Captain America and Iron Man, the airport scene was really cool. Yeah, those are just my things there, and we can go into more depth later. I just want to throw out everything I enjoyed, and yeah. What about you, Jordan? What are your quick thoughts on Civil War?
I loved it as well. I saw it twice, back-to-back days when it came out, because of the fact that I was just so high on the action and thought the story was great. Like you, I really loved Black Panther and Spider-Man. But yeah, for me, I'd say Black Panther. I mean, we'll get into Spider-Man in a sec because that was a great, great part of this movie. But Black Panther was awesome to me, man. Like, I love his suit. I love the way his voice sounds when it comes out of the suit. I like the way that he's got his claws and he can, use those like a gauntlet when he's sliding down a wall or something. Um, I really like it when these superhero movies help us care about, someone who would be like a B or C hero in the comics,
Yeah,
but then they turn out being like super cool when you see them on screen. So I really liked Black Panther a lot.
I thought it was dope. I thought it was really cool. I cannot wait for his own movie.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. At first, when they announced that movie like a year or so ago, I was down with it. Like, I'm like, yeah, I mean, you could do that. There's no way they're just gonna totally F it up, but I wasn't necessarily sold on the fact that Black Panther was the guy to have his own movie and that he would be so interesting. But kind of like Ant-Man, I was proved wrong because Ant-Man's a really great character with a really great solo film. But he also comes here and does work and cleans up shop. So I'm very excited, especially now that, we talked about this on our Gamescast that Lupita Nyong'o and Michael B. Jordan will be joining the cast alongside Chadwick Boseman. I think that's really awesome. Those are some great, great talents in the industry. So Black Panther is going to be a great movie by itself, I think.
Well, the thing too is like I don't want to get on a high horse here, but like we've seen enough white dude led superhero movies, and that's
Yeah,
bipartisan because of like the super majority of superheroes are white dudes. That's just how it is, right?
yeah,
Um, I think Marvel's missed the mark on getting some standalone female movies. We're gonna have Captain Marvel, but that's not till 2019. I don't know if Black Widow, the way they've had her in these movies, is a strong enough character to have her own movie. I think that has
yeah,
nothing to do with her being a woman. I think it's just the character they've written for. I don't really think she's strong. Um, but it's cool to have like a lot of little kids are gonna look up to superheroes and see they want to be like them. That's who I look up to, and it's a lot easier for a little white kid to look up to Captain America than it is for an African American kid. And I think it's cool that they're gonna have their pillar of like, yeah, I can be like him. That's me. I think that's
Yeah.
super cool because Black Panther is a super cool character. Like Captain America is righteous, Tony Stark's an asshole. Like Black Panther is he's just a badass, and I think he stands for a lot of cool things. And I just think they introduced him in this movie fantastically. They did everything Batman versus Superman tried to do, and they did it better because
Yep.
it's lighthearted in moments, and that's what Marvel's known for. But it's a comic book movie, and they just get it. Like there's a storyline. Spoilers, by the way. This movie's going to feature. I mean, this discussion's going to feature a bunch of spoilers about the movie. So get out now if you don't want to be spoiled. If we haven't already spoiled something by now. Um, but
If you
they,
were goofy enough to click on a review discussion
yeah,
for a movie you
exactly.
hadn't seen.
Um, they introduced how Tony Stark's parents died, and
Yeah.
one of the most crucial scenes in the movie is a moment when Tony Stark hears that somebody killed his mom. So they mention somebody's mom, and it's actually done way better than it is in Batman versus Superman because they don't say
Martha!
Martha. Um, I think the tension was really well built. It's interesting to me. So I know that most of the time Marvel isn't going to kill a character. They killed Quicksilver, because Fox's Quicksilver is way better. Um, but they're never really going to kill a character. So I for some reason I always go in knowing that they're not going to kill a character, right? In Batman versus Superman, even though it's supposed to be grittier, even when Batman quote unquote died, Superman quote unquote died at the end, I knew he wasn't dead, right?
Yeah.
Um, in this movie, when Tony Stark and Steve Rogers were going at it, I thought that maybe there might come a point where one of them dies. In the comics, Steve Rogers dies and Falcon
Yeah.
takes over as Captain America. Falcon had quite a bit of screen time in this movie, you know? So I was like,
Yeah.
that's interesting. What if they do that? And deep in the back of my mind, I know that will never happen. But those fights were so well done. Even at the beginning of the movie, a character that one of my biggest gripes with this movie, if there's any gripes, is I think they really underutilized Crossbones. I think his character was super cool.
Yes.
I think that he could have been used way more. I think they killed him off just to kill him off. I mean, it progressed the story with the explosion and all that BS, but like, I really think he was a strong villain. I think he had a lot of stake in the fight. I think that his hatred for Steve Rogers came through, and he had funny quips. Like he's like, "Yeah, you dropped a building on me. Look what it did." Like I thought he
Yeah.
was a very well crafted villain in this movie, and I don't think he got the recognized like due justice that he did. The actor I think played him phenomenally. I think that Crossbones was very underutilized in this movie, and that's one of my. I don't have a lot of gripes to this movie really. Like I just think Crossbones was underutilized. So
Yeah, I don't have a ton of gripes either, but that would be one of them. I think when this movie first started, like we first started hearing things, first started seeing set photos. The first set photos we saw were of the Crossbones fight in Africa, and I thought that he was going to be the main villain of this movie. So I don't know if you already knew that Baron Zemo was a thing, but um, if you could have it your own way, would you rather have had like basically Baron Zemo just not be there and Crossbones be like the main villain the whole time, or would you
well,
rather have had Zemo?
no. So the biggest gripe people have with Baron Zemo is they felt that he didn't really do anything to the plot. Like he was involved, but he never pushed it forward at all.
Yeah,
And I think that those two can have worked in congruence with one another. What if you found out that like Baron Zemo, though he killed the other super soldiers, that he actually was, you know, mind controlling Crossbones, or Crossbones was working for him. Like you have somebody who's very behind the scenes mind control, like using his intelligence to trick people and get people to do their way, right? And you have
yeah,
this just brute force villain. I think they could have worked in congruence with each other. You could have found both of them to be in the movie. Like even if he wasn't necessarily through the whole movie towards the end, because it wouldn't have made sense the way the movie progressed, obviously. But even like he was in there the first 15 minutes, if that. I think
hmm,
he still could have been in there, been a strong driving factor for the story moving forward. They could have even captured him. There could have been some quip there where they're in jail, and for some reason Crossbones is in jail with them. There could have been some cool dialogue there.
yeah,
I just think he was a very underutilized character, which is strange
definitely,
because they had like 15 characters in this movie and they did them all superbly well. But I guess
yeah.
when you have that many characters, you have to cut and do kind of things. But I just think Crossbones was such a cool character. I don't know. I thought he was super well done, and I wish he was in the movie more.
Yeah. I wish they hadn't thrown him away so quickly like that. Um, let's get into talking. I want to just kind of break down some of the battles that we had between all the superheroes throughout the movie.
Okay.
And I guess we can kind of, Spider-Man, we can kind of bring him up in this conversation.
Well, so let's go. We'll do the three main fights. There's the Africa fight, the airport fight, and then the final fight. You want to do those three? Do you think those are the
Yeah.
main three?
Yeah, I think that's good.
Okay, so the Africa fight, the whole movie, I think the fight scenes with, I guess, Africa fight and anything with Winter Soldier, well, just those small fights that he has, the
Yeah.
fight scenes were done really well. They had an impact. It felt like two superheroes were fighting each other.
Yes.
When Winter Soldier was fighting Black Widow and stuff, and it felt like superheroes were fighting regular people in Africa when they were killing the henchmen, but then they got to Crossbones and he was tougher. Like, I think they did the
Right.
fight scenes very well to make you feel as if you know what kind of opponent these superheroes are fighting. Like, they're fighting regular people with guns. Okay, they're gonna handle them this way. Oh, it's a superhero fighting a superhero. Like, Winter Soldier throwing people through chairs, and like, it just felt so impactful. Like, all of the fights he had with Black Panther felt super in the moment, like superhero v superhero. Like, if we're gonna go based off of just those fights themselves and not the airport and not the final fight, I think those set up the movie fantastically. Let you know there is stakes in this movie. There is fighting happening.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was great.
I do agree with, I like the point you made about, presenting the stakes that are there and how high they are. I love that Africa scene, man, especially Black Widow. Scarlett Johansson gets hers in this scene where I think there's multiple times where she's just taken down like six dudes all by herself and like flipping over them and kicking them in the
So
head.
systematically, like boom, 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 boom.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it was like, it felt like a Jason Bourne scene, and it just felt like the. Because, later on we see more superpowers and Scarlet Witch and the Vision and stuff like that. Here, there's a lot of hand-to-hand combat. It's very gritty, very melee based. You see Captain jumping around and throwing his shield. Always love seeing the Captain throwing his shield around. Um, but yeah, there's like several moments. The moment where Scarlett's trying to take down the guys that have that serum in their hand,
Yeah.
and like he's about to drop it, and so she hits both of the guys at the same time, and then jumps and catches it before it hits the ground. Like I really, I'd say the during the Africa scene, Scarlett Johansson, the Black Widow, was the highlight for me.
Well, I think the cool thing too is like, so talking about like how young African American boys and girls are going to be excited when they see Black Panther on screen. There
Mm.
was a family with like three little girls in front of me, and when Black Widow was up there just doing work, I know for a fact that those little girls were watching, saying, "Oh, a girl's taking down all these guys." Like,
Yeah.
it's very empowering, and it's awesome because these little kids look up to these superhero movies and they're like, they always see this guy being the hero, but there's a girl who's taking down all of these people, and it's really cool for little girls to see. Another thing in the whole Africa thing is they get right into it is the teamwork. They show you this is a
Yep.
team. They're working
Yes.
together. Scarlet Witch lifting Captain America into the building.
Yeah.
Falcon and her working together with his shield and stuff. Like, the teamwork was
And
on
him,
point.
him trying to get her to call his little buddy, what was it, Red Wing or something? I think
Yeah,
Red
yeah,
Wing.
yeah.
Yeah.
The teamwork aspect, you're like, okay, we're coming right off of Age of Ultron. These guys are all together. They're unified. And it was so good to see because that set up everything after that. Them being such a close team and then becoming so divided
Yeah.
on the whole Sarkovia, whatever the hell it's called. Uh, what is it? Sokovia account or whatever the hell it's called.
The Sokovia Accord.
Accord.
Sokovian Accord, yeah.
Them being so divided on that, you see like they were so close, and that makes once again the stakes so much higher. Um,
Yeah.
Going off of that, let's transition into the airport scene, the big money scene. It was
Oh,
pitched
baby.
as a 17-minute comic book fight scene, which, God, was it everything I wanted. They
Yeah.
had the Ant-Man. The problem I have with this movie, though, another gripe, a lot of stuff that I think would have been awesome to see in the movie was spoiled through trailers. There was plenty of stuff that wasn't spoiled, but like the Hawkeye Ant-Man Arrow scene spoiled in the trailer. I think if we would have saw that live, super dope. The Giant Man scene, that was
Yeah.
super cool.
Yeah.
Just the man, the at reference by Spider-Man when he's like,
Yeah.
"Do you guys see that really old movie?"
Empire Strikes Back, yeah.
Yeah, and he's like, "Well, how old is this kid? I don't know. I didn't carbon date him." And we can get into Spider-Man because this is where he's really fleshed out and introduced,
Right.
really. Um, but like the whole fight scene's great. The stakes are there. It's the fights really mattered. I think Hawkeye was kind of forced into this movie. I think they could have taken him out and it would have been fine. I like
Well,
Jeremy
see,
Renner. I think he's a cool guy. I think he's a great actor. I liked Hawkeye,
s-
but
since you're mentioning him, I do want to bring up a point about Hawkeye. Everyone felt like they got their due except for Hawkeye. What the hell is up with this thing since the middle of Age of Ultron where they're like, oh yeah, Hawkeye's, as far as like, in real life, in the public, everyone knows that he's one of the Avengers, right? Like,
yeah,
you and me, as we're going into the theater, think of Hawkeye as an Avenger. But then, all through Age of Ultron and all through this movie, they keep talking about, oh, well, he's retired and we got to go get him and this shit. I'm like, why was that? Why did they write that into the plot in Ultron?
I think it's
Like,
a little bit of pandering, honestly. I like Hawkeye. I like Jeremy Renner's character, but he's not really a character that matters.
yeah,
He's the male Black Widow, and I think Black Widow's a better character than him.
yeah,
Obviously, their powers are different and stuff, but you know what I'm saying. Like, it's a secondary
yeah,
character.
yeah.
Um, but like, yeah, I thought he couldn't have been in the fight scene, but that's far and few between. Spider-Man, they nailed him so well.
Oh, yeah,
The whole point of Spider-Man when he fights is that he has all these like these little things he says, little quips, little hilarious things because he throws people off their game. He knows if he gets them laughing or acting like, what the hell did he just say? It throws
yeah,
them off their game, right? That's his whole thing. And plus, he's a kid. Like he's a kid. He's gonna say that kind of stuff, right? He's gonna be
yeah,
snarky. And they nailed him so well. When he grabs Winter Soldier's arm and he's like, "You have a metal arm. That's cool.
yeah,
Great." That whole scene with him fighting them and all the different things, you have the right to remain silent. Like I love the
yeah.
whole thing when Falcon and Winter Soldier are laying there and he's like, "You could have done that before," and he's like, "I hate you." Like I loved that whole thing. Even the parts when Spider-Man gets knocked down, they show you that he's really resilient. One of the best parts of this movie, I single-handedly would say, is the I think it's one or two best parts of this movie is when they're sitting in the room and Tony Stark is talking to Peter Parker. We know we're not going to have an origin story. He
Yep.
tells him, when you have the power to do something and you do nothing, you're at fault. You're to
Yeah.
blame. And that's basically explaining that Uncle Ben died because he didn't help him and he didn't stop that guy. We know that story. We don't need to know. We don't have to have it known now. Like we already know what happened with Spider-Man, but knowing that you see that he has that attitude. Like it's a even though he's a younger kid, he handles it a lot more serious, like Peter Parker does, where it is his right to protect people. He is Spider-Man. He owes it to people. You know, a
Yeah.
lot of his so Hulk's strength, a lot of it comes from his anger. Peter Parker's strength, a lot of it comes from his will. He gets stronger depending on who the stakes are involved with, you know. And
Right.
I just think explaining that tells us a no origin story in Spider-Man: Homecoming. B we know this is Spider-Man. This is Spider-Man. So I just think he's so well done. The fight scene was great. Um, Scarlet Witch super OP, obviously.
Yeah.
But yeah, the choreography was great. Everyone got their moment in the fight, which was super cool. And yeah, I love Tom Holland as Spider-Man. Perfect.
Yeah. You were talking about. You made the point that a lot of stuff got spoiled in the trailers, and I would agree. But for this airport scene, man, there was so much that we hadn't seen.
Oh
There was
yes.
just so much more fleshing out, and I totally agree that they nailed Spider-Man in every aspect because this is our first live-action on-screen Spider-Man that is an actual teenager, which is what Spider-Man is.
Yep.
We've had these 30-year-olds playing Peter Parker for 10 or 15 years now, and that's cool and all. And, Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield are great actors, but I'm so, so glad to see this Tom Holland kid. And I was watching interviews before the movie came out, and he's a good guy. He seems like a good dude, and he
He's
seems like
genuinely appreciates being able to have this role.
exactly, and that's what I'm so excited about. Plus, the kid's like super into parkour and gymnastics, which
Perfect.
Spider-Man's a gymnast. Yeah,
Yep.
and that came through, man. Like, sure, Peter Parker was flipping around during the Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield days, but just in the 20 minutes that he's in this movie, I feel like he flips around so much. He's doing so much gymnastics and catching himself on walls and going between the legs and all stuff like that, where it's just so cool to watch him do his thing. And that's the type of Spider-Man that I've been looking for. So Really love to see that. Love seeing Tom Holland as Peter Parker. Thought he did a great job. Um, I honestly, it might have felt a little bit forced here or there, but I really did enjoy the connection that was made between Tony Stark and Peter Parker there. It was like, Iron Man is definitely the guy bringing him into the Avengers and into this whole superhero situation that he's in. Um, but I do think they set up a good relationship. And, you were mentioning earlier you were surprised that nobody got killed. I'm surprised that they didn't kill Tony Stark because, I feel like uh, we're probably going to be seeing him less in these movies just because of his contract and he's not going to be Iron Man forever and that whole thing. But I think they set up, laid the bricks for a cool relationship between Spider-Man and Iron Man in later movies.
I think Iron Man won't make it past Infinity War. I think those will
Won't?
be his last movies
Yeah.
as a main character. Even I don't even know if he'll be in them after that. But the thing with this is I think it's that Tony Stark, they set up the whole thing with his parents that he didn't really feel like he ever had a connection with his father.
Mm,
Peter Parker mentions the whole thing subtly about Uncle Ben. I think that having him be a father figure to somebody who doesn't have a father and he never felt as if he was close with his father makes
mm,
sense. It seemed,
yeah.
yeah, it did seem forced at some moments, but it seemed less forced if Steve Rogers went up to him and talked to him, I don't know, it just seemed like the connection there made more sense with Tony Stark. I think the after credit scene of having him have the Spidey signal was super cool.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I think that the cool thing too is they subtly showed what this character is. For the two people that aren't familiar with Spider-Man, him, you see Winter Soldier kick everyone's ass throughout the entire movie.
Yeah.
Spider-Man goes up to him, he swings at Spider-Man, Spider-Man grabs his fist midair. That
Mm,
right there tells you, oh god, this kid is a teenager, but he's strong.
yeah.
But on the same token, he's not perfect. He's a kid. He messes up, he falls, his mask falls off. He's like, go
Yeah.
home, kid. He's like, are you sure? He can't even put his mask on.
Yeah.
I think that they showed a lot of dimensions of that character. I think, going back to the fight scene, I think Vision was underutilized. I think he was used as a plot device a lot for Scarlet Witch. I think
Yep.
they could have fleshed him out a little bit more. I like where he walked into the room at the beginning of the movie, and she's like, you can't just do that. You can't just walk into my room. When he doesn't get
Yeah.
it, which is cool. But I think he wasn't necessarily utilized a whole lot. But like once again, we're nitpicking. This movie was so fantastic.
Sure.
Um,
Loved it.
yeah, I think that this, in and of itself, was a great Iron Man, Captain America movie that set up so much more. Black
Sure.
Panther is going to be phenomenal. Spider-Man: Homecoming, I hope is phenomenal, which I think it will be if Tom Holland's in it. I just think overall this is a great movie. It's a must-watch. I think this is, if Deadpool didn't come out this year, this would far and away be my favorite movie. I still think I liked it more than Deadpool, but it's like if I had to rate it, I don't like rating things. Civil War 10, Deadpool 9.9. Like I loved both of those movies so much for different reasons, completely different reasons.
Yeah.
But this was such a well crafted movie, and the cool thing is Russo brothers were already confirmed for Infinity War. They announced recently that the writer for Civil War is also going to be on Infinity War. So we're
Nice.
gonna have the same director writer combo, which is super fantastic. Yeah, I can't say anything else. I love Civil War. I guess we can before we close out, get the last fight scene. I already talked about it a little bit. I thought the stakes were super high. I thought one of them could possibly die. I thought one of the most powerful scenes is like he's my friend, and then Tony Stark says, "So was I." That
Yeah.
was super powerful. When Tony Stark takes off Winter Soldier's arm, I was like,
Yeah.
"Holy crap!" Um, this is like Marvel taking the next step, getting a little bit more serious when they need to be, not just serious for serious sake. Um, when Cap puts the shield through his core, and then even when Cap's walking away and he says keep it, like, and then it shows the Black Panther marks, which is super dope. Like
Yeah.
that whole fight scene at the end, it was a worthy fight scene of what was built up. And the cool thing is you had this fight happening, and right outside you had Baron Zemo having a heart to heart with Black Panther, where
Mm.
Black Panther stops him from committing suicide.
I liked that, dude. That was
Where
a
he's like,
cool
I don't
scene.
want retribution or revenge to consume me.
Yeah.
Like it was just so well done. I like the varying factors of like a crazy intense fight happening, and they're having a conversation of like, don't let revenge consume you. So I thought it was
Right.
fantastic.
Yeah, I did like how they were bouncing back and forth between those two scenes, and it just made Black Panther an even cooler character there. And the fact that he didn't try to move his head out of the way of the gunshot. He just put his arm in between the gunshot and Baron Zemo's neck. And since it was adamantium, it like bounced off of Black Panther's arm, which I thought
Vibranium.
was, or yeah, what did I say?
Tomato,
Adamantium.
tomato. Yeah, whatever.
Um, but yeah, you know what I'm saying. And it's just cool that he used his arm like that. Anyways, the uh, Iron Man, Captain America, Bucky fight I thought was great, really gritty, and really just like they were taking chunks out of each other, man.
It
Like
was a
it felt
fight. Yeah.
exactly. And the three-way fight, it reminded me of like a Jedi fight, you know, kind of like
Yep.
Darth Maul and Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon and Phantom Menace. Um, I really like that aspect. I like the fact that like Captain America or like and Bucky are bouncing the shield off of Iron Man back
That
and forth to
teamwork.
each other. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, bring it back to teamwork, like you mentioned in the Africa fight. Just so many cool things. And I don't know if you noticed the Easter egg in that fight when Captain America gets knocked down and stands back up, and um,
I could do this all day.
yeah, he says I could do this all day, which is a throwback to the original Cap movie where he's getting beat up in the alley, and he says that same thing when he's still a tiny little guy.
Yeah.
Um, so that was really cool. And then, yeah, like the whole bashing the shield into Tony's chest, or the fact that Tony was being like a whiny bitch about the fact that his dad had made that, and like, dude, like, um, Chris Evans, fuck, what, Steve Rogers, he's friends with your dad. It's not like he's like, you know, disrespecting your dad by like trying to beat you up with his shield or anything.
And
You
the
know,
cool
like
thing
they
is,
were
so
friends.
yeah, like you found out Cap already knew about it. In Winter Soldier, you find that out because when they go to the Hydra location, when Steve Rogers and Black Widow are there looking at the computers, he sees Winter Soldier killing his parents on the screen. You don't
Yeah,
see it as a viewer, but he has this look of awe, and he says, "No, that can't be true." And then they kind of go past it, and it's like a little tidbit that if you noticed it, it paid off in Civil War. A lot of
yeah,
people are like, that came out of nowhere. How did Steve Rogers know? And it's like, no, that was explained in Winter Soldier. You probably just skimmed past it or didn't notice it. Like
yeah.
that fight was just, the stakes were so high, and it felt like one of them could die. Like
Oh
it
yeah,
just felt so brutal, and it just goes to show that you can have high stakes and have a serious nature to your movie when it matters. Like the airport fight was super cool. We knew no one was going to get seriously hurt. They were friends fighting friends.
yeah,
But when that last fight scene happened, it was friends fighting friends, but were they friends?
yep, yeah.
So I
That's a
just think
great,
it was so
great
well
point.
done. I think DC needs to hire Kevin Feige because Kevin Feige can do no wrong for Marvel.
That'd be great.
They need to. The fact that they announced Ben Affleck as the executive producer on Justice League gets me more excited because Zack Snyder needs to get some help on that because
Yep,
DC fans need to have what Marvel fans are enjoying. I don't
yeah,
want DC movies to be terrible. Why would I want that? You
yeah,
know, I want them to have great movies. And the whole problem with Flash is scary now with the director leaving and stuff. But yeah, that's besides the point. Civil War, fantastic. If you haven't watched any Marvel movies, catch up to watch this movie. You can even watch it without seeing the other ones, but I'm guaranteeing you will feel so much more engaged, and the payoff will be so much better if you were already invested in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
yeah.
Best Spider-Man
Um,
on screen, Black Panther, dope. We're looking forward to it. Any closing thoughts, Jordan?
I would agree with everything you just said, and just a little side note for my closing thought is I know we talk so much about with these MCU movies, like we talk a lot about how this Civil War movie will affect, how it connects from Age of Ultron, how it'll connect to Infinity War, how it'll connect to, you know, the next Iron Man or even Spider-Man Homecoming next year. But for me, I just want to shout out the fact that this is Captain America 3. You know, this is the third in so far a trilogy of Captain America movies, and those are connected as well, and they just have done such a great job of not only, you know, making Steve Rogers such a deep character and someone I care about, even just as a person, not as Captain America, And not only that, but the depth of the brotherhood, the connection between he and Bucky for now, over 50, 60 years, because they were frozen or Bucky was captured and turned into a Winter Soldier. But it's just been so long, this course of time that we've watched them grow together and bond, and there were so many throwbacks and callbacks in this movie talking about their friendship, the moment where they were talking about um, you know spending all their ride money on hot dogs or whatever, and I just really love that dynamic that they've built over three movies. So shout out to Marvel for not only making this awesome standalone movie and this awesome part of this crazy Marvel Cinematic Universe, but really for bringing it home within the Captain America trilogy and really deepening that bond between Steve Rogers and Bucky. I really liked watching that over the course of these three movies.
Yeah, I think with you alongside that, I think they do a great job of making people who aren't familiar or don't care about these superheroes care about them, and
Yeah,
servicing those lifelong fans of that superhero.
and the
Um,
B and C heroes like Black Panther and Scarlet Witch.
he's
They're
about to
cool.
be an A hero, I'll tell you that much in the cinematic universe. Yeah, so thank you guys for joining us for our review discussion of Civil War. We loved it, obviously. If you watch it, you probably will too. Fantastic movie. We have nothing but great things to say about it, and
Yes,
we
high
cannot.
recommendation.
Yep, and Spider-Man: Homecoming and Black Panther can't come soon enough, right, Jordan?
Sure, hell, I'm even excited for old Doc Strange this
Yep,
fall.
and Suicide Squad, a DC movie. I'm
Yeah,
intrigued to see how that goes.
can't be
Um,
worse than BVS.
yeah, really. Even though I liked it, but yeah. So thank you guys for joining us and listening to us talk about one of the greatest superhero movies ever. We'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye.